Great. Again, so we're going over the Store Link module, Keystroke Live here. And so, as normal, we do our Keystroke Live on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. Same time, same place. And today we're going through this Store Link module. Just some quick points. The Store Link module is sold at $1,295 list price. You do get your dealer margin on that. It does require a keystroke license for each and every physical location that you're going to use keystroke at. And basically, we're going to go over today the tools that you can use multi-store or Store Link for. Basically, the biggest part is to manage your inventory records. You can add, delete, and maintain pricing and descriptions and SKUs in one database and share that to all your other stores. The stock or coin on hand level reporting, you can actually see what your coin on hands are either in a report format or you can see it instantaneously by using the Shift F5, which actually shows you your coin on hands at each location. So if you're out of stock at one store, you can see which other store might have that part in stock and either transfer it to that store or send the customer over to another store. There's a store transfers section. It's kind of like a sales transaction, but it actually just transfers material. Lynn did a great job and went through the multi-store purchase orders last week, so that's on Keystroke Live if you want to get the recording of it. And we also have tools that can do things like consolidating sales and purchase transactions, so you can actually create a database with multiple stores transactions, mostly used for customers' accounts receivable. Lynn will be going over that next week. And the idea there is that if I walk into one store in one location and purchase something on my account, then I go to another store, purchase something else at that other store on my account, I would get a statement that would show both transactions for both stores. Let's talk about some of the tools, and I'm going to actually bounce in and out of Keystroke here to kind of show them to you. But first, we'll just I did a small screenshot here, and we'll go show you where it's at. This is how you would maintain your inventory records. Keeping in mind that your Keystroke inventory has some common fields that are always common. For instance, the stock number must be the same. Things like the description and product code must be the same. You wouldn't want stock number 1 to be a widget here and then be a computer over there. So those fields are kind of always common between all stores. This screen here shows you what can be unique per store, meaning you can actually have different selling prices, you can have different minimum coin on hands, you can have different order quantities. So maybe a store that doesn't do the volume as another store might have a different order quantity and may have a different minimum coin on hand values. So let's just bounce into Keystroke real quick here, and I'll show you where that's at and how to find everything. Make sure I change my screen. And shortly here you'll see Keystroke come up. So I'll make sure I don't get ahead of myself. Maybe I didn't do that. Yep, there it is. Okay, so here's just basically the logo or the advanced POS navigation menu. I can find this under extensions, and then I can use the Store Link module here. And I click on that, and this brings me into, we've already done some setup, or at least Lynn did last week for this presentation. I'm in the Store Link module, and it's going to show the transfer screen here. This is where you end up when you first start the Store Link module. And I'm going to first start and go under the transfer menu in the upper left. And then I'm going to go scroll down to parameters, and parameters here I have a choice of inventory update. And this screen is slightly different than the screenshot I took earlier, but here's kind of an example of what you can and can't do. Of course, the main things on the top is adding new items. If I add a new inventory item in my master or database, It would add it to all databases. I can choose to update existing items, meaning as I change things like pricing, quantity, uh, order quantities, maximum quantities, and so forth, they will be sent over to the new store. As you notice here, individual stores' quantities are not a choice, and that's for a reason. The quantity on hand at every store would be unique. The quantity on allocated or layaway or the quantity on order would be unique for every store. But things like minimum quantity, this has been unchecked here at the top. The minimum quantity might be different at every store. One store might need 10 on hand all the time, and one store might only need 1 as a display because they might sell it out of a warehouse or get shipped for somewhere else. So these kind of features can be turned on and off per store. And if you're familiar with version 7 and version 8 has a lot more features. All the user info information has been added. This is the whole right-hand column. In this case, are all checked. Things at the bottom are kind of unique, and it's really customizable. For instance, matrix, if you're not using that, you wouldn't have that turned on. Removing a deleted item. You might want to delete it out of one store but not delete it out of all stores, or vice versa. You may want to delete it out of the master but keep that unique item for one store that has that unique item. In this case, it's turned on in the lower left. So these can be just turned on and off as needed. By default, I believe average cost is turned off. That's one of the flags it is. The theory there is that purchasing, when every store, if they were to purchase their own product, would have their own cost set based on their own purchase order, and that might include shipping to a different location and so forth. So that's kind of one that's normally turned off. A lot of times all of these are turned on. Here's an example. The on sale flag was turned off in this sample data, meaning it might be on sale in the California location, but it might not be on sale in the Colorado location. So that's kind of a screenshot here of the inventory parameters. And again, that was found under the transfer menu in the upper left, under parameters and inventory update. One of the other great tools is being able to report on different quantity on hands at different stores and so forth. Here's a screenshot, and we'll go in and run one of these reports to the screen. In this case, I'm running it to a file in the screenshot, and this allows you to take the master inventory and actually print my quantity on hand list for every store and see what my quantities are and my total quantities. This might help a purchasing agent at the main store understand how many they need to purchase for all the stores, or if they can transfer material from store 2 to store 3 and so forth to get material moved around so it's more available at all the stores. Let's jump back into Keystroke, and I'll just run a report here and see how that looks. So here I'm back into Keystroke. Give it a second to refresh. And I'm in the StoreLink module again. I'm just going to go to the Reports menu and select Inventory Levels. And notice that you do have things like transfers. You can actually report on your transfers. Or we have added this in version 8, the inventory transfer history, that you can pick one item and see where the movement of that material went to. What did it go from store 2 to store 3? And so forth and so on. That kind of helps you reconcile where material went to at any time based on a stock number. But in this example, I'm just going to run the inventory list. This one here, I'm just going to use the defaults. Always looks at the master inventory, and I can choose to be stock number, description, and so forth. In this case, it's just set up to be stock number. Again, I can use hidden records and so forth, all the same stuff that applies. In stock only, that would be good, but in some cases you don't want to check that checkbox because you want to see the stores that have 0 quantities, and that's important to see too. Now let's go ahead and run this report. I haven't actually run this, so we'll see what I'm going to show on the screen here shortly. And it's generating the report. think I have to show this on the screen here. Give it a second to refresh. Sorry about that. What should come up here on your screen would be a listing here of the quantity on hands. I don't see it popping up on your view yet, so there we go. So here, and of course, we do a lot of copying of data from one store to the other for this presentation purpose. So in our case here, you're going to see a lot of the same quantity on hands. This would not be the case in the real world. But this right here shows you sorted by stock number, all the different items, what's in the master location, what's in store 1, what's in store 2, and what's the total of the inventory. So you would see different quantities normally for every store. You could actually see where you have an abundance of some items and you want to ship them off to others. And this is a very good report. You can also use this report for some of you dealers that might know this trick. You can actually run this report. I'm going to close that real quick and go run a different one here. Let me show you this as the screen refreshes. I'm going to get ahead of the screen here, but let me show you what I'm looking at here. Let's see. There we go. So here I'm going to actually be selecting a report, but I'm going to use a different report form. It's called Inventory Levels Totals Only. This will actually show you things like the stock number, the description, and then the total. It won't show you every store's physical location. So we can actually run this report to a file, and I can actually make it an Excel file if I wanted to, or a delimited file. I might use a comma quote delimited file instead, and maybe call it a CSV file, and then I can use it to import into a variance. So for instance, if people are out there having troubles with their master store location, they want it to actually show the consolidation of all the stores, meaning if I have 5 in store 1 and 10 in store 2, I want to see 15 in the consolidated store, which is really just a virtual store. It does not have doors. People don't walk in. It's not a warehouse. It's just a reporting tool to show me the total quantities. You could actually use this report here to print this to a file. And again, I used a form that we created some years ago called Inventory Levels Totals Only. It allows you just to get the total. It allows you to go in and just use like the variance sorted by stock number and bring in the totals. So pretty much in a nutshell, I'm going to go through just a few more things in here. Lynn might have showed you this during the multi-store purchase order presentation. This is where you would set up the stores. It was under the store menu at the top. I'm going to wait for the screen redraw, make sure I don't get ahead. And under the store menu, I can go to the list of stores. And in this case, it's already been set up. My store 0 is a master store. It's not really a warehouse. You could have a new store calling it the warehouse. Store 1 is a physical store. Let's say it's in Long Beach, California, and store 2 would be in Colorado. I can go into this master store. I just clicked on the master store at the top of the list. Of course, this would be addresses. You can also give it different names. You can call it the consolidated data and so forth. Here is where you might turn on the checkbox in the lower left. This would be exclude from the levels report. In the scenario I just showed you, printing a report to get, let's say, your consolidated data to be the accumulation of both stores, let's say 10 in store 1 and 5 in store 2 to show 15. I wouldn't want to show a report that showed 15, 10, and 5. That would double my inventory. It would show 30 instead of 15. So I would just check this box that says exclude from the levels report. That would allow you to kind of take care of that. There's some other features I think Lynn went through last week that never use on multi-store purchase orders. If you have a virtual store or master store that's only there for reporting purposes, you want to turn that on. And that kind of gives you the chance to run reports in different fashions. You can actually say, well, maybe I want a levels report for stores 2, 5, and 7. And so you can actually turn things off for different stores. So that's kind of the store link. There's not too much more to go through that in this presentation today. There's lots of details. Again, there's tools, extract and store merge, and we have documents on how to use that. One last thing under the parameters, under entry, I wanted to show these just quickly. Hardly ever used, but you can do a couple things here. No out-of-stock transfers. That little checkbox here would allow you to say, no, I don't want to be able to transfer if it's a negative quantity, because sometimes you get one store goes way in the negative, the other store gets way in the positive, and that doesn't meet the real-world expectation. There's one checkbox at the bottom here, close program on exit. Keystroke does a nice fancy little trick. When you go into StoreLink, it actually, no matter what you're doing, it actually removes you from the data directory you're in and puts you into a different data set. So you may want to choose the close program on exit. That's just to get you outside of the program and be able to open up your stores with your normal shortcuts. So that was pretty much the quick and simple explanation of StoreLink. Again, this presentation was just kind of to show what exists out there, how it's used, and so forth. If you have detailed questions, please call myself or Lynn or any support person here at our office, and we'll be able to happily kind of go through what Keystroke StoreLink does and multi-store reports do. And that's about it. I'm going to open up take off the mute for everybody. If there's any questions right now, please ask any questions at this time. I think I undid that. There we go. And just remember, next week there's a little bit more on multi-store. Lynn is going to go through multi-store and accounts receivables and how you get a consolidated set of data. And I'll answer any questions if you have any, and if not, have a great Wednesday. Great. Well, thanks for attending. We'll see you next Wednesday, 10 o'clock.